Today on the channel, head-to-head, one of the better affordable home golf simulators you can find in the original SkyTrak against the cream of the crop, GCQuad. We're going to hit shots, we're going to compare them head-to-head. Let's see how it goes. Stay tuned.
SkyTrak. There we go. We're good now. We found it. We found our spot.
Hey guys, it's Chris. Welcome back to the channel. Exciting one for you today. I'm back in the golf barn. This is my buddy Thomas Campbell's home simulator setup. The fun thing about the golf barn, Thomas has access to some pretty sweet technology. He's got a GCQuad, which is the gold standard. You know, Rory McIlroy has one. All the big guys on tour have one. Today, we're going to be trying to test out head-to-head my new-to-me original SkyTrak against the GCQuad, the cream of the crop, the best of the best. We're going to see how similar or different they are. I've just hit a couple of test shots to make sure that the setup is working. It seems like it's working okay, so let's get into it. We're going to do our normal testing. We'll hit some 50-yard shots, 100-yard shots, like a 7-iron or so, and then some drivers. So stay with us. This should be a great test comparing these two units side by side. I think I've got them set up where I can hit one ball and both units are going to read the same shot. And then of course, like usual, we'll take them back, we'll dump all the data in a spreadsheet, and then we'll do some comparisons. So we're going to start out with a 50-yard shot. I've got a Pro V1X that I'm going to be hitting in here. Let's dive in, let's get started.
Okay, here we go. 50-yard shots. Didn't quite get it there. That'll get there. Oh, yes. That's a good one. Good one, and go in. Oh, sit. All right, I haven't done deep dive into the numbers yet, but so far, so good. Looks like both units are picking up the shots. Let's move on to our 110-yard shot, let's call it. All right, guys, 110 shot. This is a gap wedge. Hit 5 of these. Go. 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 Almost. Same distance. There we go. SkyTrak got that one at least. We're getting some misreads on the SkyTrak here. Some missed reads, I should say, not misreads. They're just missing it. Quad is working like clockwork, though. Go in, go in. Oh. Okay, we got that one on the SkyTrak as well. I'm going to make sure that we got 5 shots on the SkyTrak here. Yep, we got 5. Now we're going to go 7-iron. Okay, now we got 7-iron again. This is like a 180 shot maybe. All right, 5 shots with the 7-iron. Oh, that's good. Okay, we got both of them. Little pull, but hit really hard. A little push, maybe. Left the face a little open. No, actually, it's right down the line. Never mind. I would be happy with that shot. Oh man, I shanked it. We saw that one. This will be interesting. Let's see how it sees a shank. 135 going 154. Yeah. Right spin 1600, right spin 1900. Ball speed 105, ball speed 106. Yeah, that was a draw for sure. Quad got it right. SkyTrak got it too. Level draw. I think that was 5. 5 that the SkyTrak read. That was 5 that the SkyTrak read. Okay, so we got 5 shots with the 50 yards, 5 shots with the 100 yards, 5 shots with the 7-iron. That means driver's next. Let's do it. Let's see. This is the important one, right? Quad got it. SkyTrak got it too. Weird. Whoa, weird. Okay, that was very different between the... Yeah, it worked. Nice. That was a good hit too. Neither of them. Oh, the SkyTrak got that one. Quad didn't. In a stunning upset for the SkyTrak. Okay, so it seems like we might be getting some interference here on the driver. Torched there. SkyTrak, SkyTrak. There we go. We're good now. We found it. We found our spot. 481 of left side spin, 522 of left side spin. Ball speed was off. 145 on the SkyTrak, 150 on the quad. 2374 total spin, 2210 backspin. That's pretty good. Oh, that was way off the top of the face. Yeah, not a great strike again. Ah, shoot. You know, it's interesting. The shots that the quad doesn't get, the SkyTrak seems to get a little better, a little closer to reality, it seems like. So there must be some interference going on in the infrared between these two units. Yep, got them both. Sweet. All right, let's just do a quick live compare here on these two shots. Okay, carry distance. We'll go SkyTrak first, then the quad. 248 carry. Quad had 269 carry. 277 total. Quad had 295 total. Backspin, 2059. Quad had 1780. Side spin. SkyTrak had 836 left. Quad had 564 left. Launch angle, SkyTrak had 16. Quad had 14.9. Ball speed, SkyTrak had 150. Quad had 151. So, those are reasonably close. Given what we know about the foresight algorithm on low spin shots, which of these two is more real? It's probably right in between them. You know, I would guess it probably went 285, not 295 on the quad, not 277 on the SkyTrak, probably somewhere right in the middle. But we're going to get all the shot data back into a spreadsheet. We'll look at it together, and we'll see what the real differences are. Overall impressions before I look at the data, honestly pretty impressed with the SkyTrak. It didn't seem to me like there were a whole ton of situations where the shape of the shot, was obviously wrong. Most of the time, when the quad had a draw, SkyTrak had a draw. When the quad had a cut, SkyTrak had a cut. Pushes and pulls seemed like they were reasonably well aligned. Backspin and sidespin looked relatively close to one another. So SkyTrak, as far as I can tell, fared pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. One thing that you do need to say about the SkyTrak is there's a pretty long shot delay. I think it's about 3-4 seconds from the time you hit to the time that the launch monitor registers and does its algorithm and is able to show the flight path on the screen. The quad is immediate, which is great. But the shot delay thing doesn't bother me too bad, and I'm frankly impressed with the accuracy. It seemed like it was pretty darn close to the quad. When the ball speeds start getting faster, when there's less time for the unit to read the ball going through its cameras, that's where we're going to see the most errors, discrepancy from reality, I guess. And on those kind of shots on drivers and whatever, like obviously a GC3 or a GCQuad is going to be a lot better, probably you could say, than the SkyTrak. But for the slower speed shots, SkyTrak works pretty well, just from my anecdotal impressions here. But like I said, we will get all the data back into spreadsheet. We'll take a look at what it looks like. Okay, so we're back here in my house. We've got the data in a spreadsheet. It's about 6 weeks later, so if that tells you anything about how long it takes to make one of these videos, that tells you something. Anyway, we have the data in a spreadsheet. Before we get into it, a couple things. If you're liking the content, please give me a like, subscribe to the channel, leave some comments down below. It's one of my goals this year to get to 500 subscribers. It's another goal to release 20 videos. Like I said, this is 6 weeks later, so it's a real effort for me to get these videos out, but I'm committed to it. This is something that is fun for me, and I'm enjoying it, and I'd love to hear from you as well. So if you could subscribe if you're enjoying the content, I've got a lot more home golf simulator sort of stuff coming up. Would appreciate it if you like the video and if you subscribed if you see value in it. Okay, back to the data here now. You can see I've got the spreadsheet up here. I've got the data. There's a bunch of tabs down here, and I'm not going to go through everything, but the spreadsheet is going to be linked in the video description here below. If you want to look at it, you're welcome to. But what we've got here is we've got the data from the quad. Next tab is data from the SkyTrak. We get down to the comparison tab, and I think that's one of the important ones. We're looking at shot by shot for the shots that both the SkyTrak and the quad measured, and there weren't any interference issues, there weren't any obviously wrong misreads. What are the differences between the two? Again, I'm not going to go through every shot, but the stats tab goes through, down towards the bottom of the stats tab, we go through a comparison. The place that I think is the most interesting for us to talk about is the averages for each club. We did about a 50-yard shot, about a 110 shot, a full 7-iron, and then drivers. Caveat, we took out misreads. There were, I think, 5 misreads that I identified from the SkyTrak where the data was different enough between the SkyTrak and the quad that I thought taking the shot out was the best path forward. So Controlling for misreads, here's what we've got. Really all the clubs, 54-degree gap wedge 7-iron, ball speed, and even driver. Ball speed is super close, within a percentage point. We're talking within like half a mile an hour, 1 mile an hour. And that really close between the two units, again, when you control for misreads, played out all the way through the data. So you can see here, spin was kind of the place where backspin was maybe where the biggest differences were, but they weren't that different. On average, we're talking 100, 200, 300 RPMs, which is, less than 5% or so. The driver was off more than the other clubs. I do think there was some interference issues um, with the two units being that close to each other, specifically on the drivers. I'm not sure why it would only impact the drivers and not the other clubs, but it sure seemed like the SkyTrak was giving me more kind of strange numbers, even on the shots that weren't necessarily misreads. I'm willing to chalk that up to there was some interference with the way I set up the test for the drivers. I'm willing to kind of put that in its own bucket and look at the shots where we did get good data, which was basically through the 7-irons, and the data was awfully close. Really, all around the data was pretty close. You look here. The only thing that jumped out at me was the carry distance on the drivers, and again, I'm kind of putting that in its own bucket. I don't think that that's um, necessarily a ding on the SkyTrak or anything. So this last tab here is I call it conclusions. And I've got some conclusions for each of these specific metrics that we're looking at. I do want to say backspin, I did a little analysis on this. Only 2 of the 13 shots that were not misreads that were measured for 50-yard, 100-yard, 7-iron had a 200 greater than 200 RPM difference in backspin, or greater than like 203 RPM or something like that. So on 11 of the 13 shots, the SkyTrak and the quad are reading really, really close on backspin. I think that's pretty important. The other thing that I want to talk about here is side spin. There was only one shot where the SkyTrak read a different direction of spin than the quad did. Now, the magnitude of that spin did differ a little bit, and honestly, most of the time the quad saw more side spin, more RPM of side spin than the SkyTrak did. I think it was like 10 out of the 15 shots. If when they both showed a draw, the quad showed more draw, 10 out of 15 times. But only one time was there where the SkyTrak saw a fade and the quad saw a draw, or vice versa. So that made me feel pretty good. And I think if you're thinking about purchasing a SkyTrak or you have a SkyTrak, that should make you feel pretty good. You might not be a million% accurate to the eighth decimal place like we think the quad is with your SkyTrak, but your SkyTrak is at least getting you in the ballpark. I say here it passes the squint test for me. You squint at it, it's a little blurry. Directionally, we're right there with the SkyTrak compared to the quad. So I think that's pretty impressive. Overall, SkyTrak is really pretty good for $1,000 or $800 or $750, whatever they're going now on the used market. It's a good unit. You're getting really good data out of this thing. Like I talked about a little bit earlier, one of the concerns for me was whether the spin, the side spin, and the backspin were going to be close enough between the SkyTrak and the quad. And I think for me, this test lays that to bed. They're really close. Uh, Pretty consistent results. The data is close between the two. I'm chalking that up as a big win for the SkyTrak. Now, the real concern here, of course, is the misreads. I touched on it a little bit earlier. I took out, 4 or 5 reads from the SkyTrak that seemed to be pretty obvious misreads, and you can see it when you go back and look at the video. Some of the shot shapes, especially for like a 100-yard shot, the SkyTrak was showing like 2,000 left spin or right spin, and like that's just not real. Again, I'm willing to chalk some of this stuff up to the fact that there might be interference because the two units were pretty close together and they both use infrared to read the ball, and so there might be some infrared interference there. But in my time with the SkyTrak, there have been times when I've been playing a round of golf in GS Pro, and I'd say they're few and far between, maybe one or two a round. Um, but I've experienced times when there are misreads and the spin just doesn't seem to be what I would have expected based on the shot that I hit. When you buy a GCQuad, when you hit on a GCQuad, you are expecting it to be 1000% accurate. Like I said earlier, down to the fourth, fifth, sixth decimal place accurate, or as accurate as a launch monitor can be. And I also think that you're not going to get a misread. The quad isn't ever going to throw you a weird, 3000 side spin. The unit is just too good for that. But with SkyTrak, you might get that every once in a while. And I think that if you're using this SkyTrak unit to play simulator golf on GS Pro or whatever your software of choice is, you might get a little frustrated when that one or two shots around comes up. If that misread causes you to hit it in the water or hit it behind a tree or whatever, that's a frustrating experience. That said, I think every unit, under the $10,000 price range has a wart or two, and this is one of the warts of the SkyTrak. I don't think it's that big a deal, especially if your use case on the SkyTrak is like you're using it to warm up in the winter and you're just using the driving range, or you are trying to improve your game and you're looking for mostly accurate data to do that. I think if those are your use cases, SkyTrak is a phenomenal unit, phenomenal buy. For less than $1,000, it's awfully good. And I think especially when we're talking about indoor golf simulators, SkyTrak is great. It sits right beside the ball. You don't need a whole ton of space behind it where you might need for like a Garmin R10 or a Mevo Plus or something. And it's just there, and you turn it on, and the interface with its app is good. Its native driving range is good. You don't need an extra subscription for that driving range. It's really impressive, honestly, I think. If that's your use case, SkyTrak is great. I don't have any problem with people having a SkyTrak and using it. I think this test hopefully can give you some peace of mind that, hey, the data's pretty darn good. Now, again, like I said, if your use case is simulator golf, you need to understand what the benefits and drawbacks of this unit are. It's not a GCQuad. You're not paying $15,000 for that ironclad 100% accuracy that you get with the quad. SkyTrak is less than $1,000 for that price. I think the reliability of the data that you get is very, very impressive. Remember, these units were brand new $2,000 like a year ago. There's been a sea change in pricing on launch monitors over the last couple of years, with the new SkyTrak coming out, SkyTrak Plus. The old SkyTraks took a hit on price anyway, but the technology is basically the same as the SkyTrak Plus just added a few more, quality of life improvements. If you're just looking for data, the original SkyTrak is awesome, and it's a great value. I'm not sure that there's anything that you can buy right now for the price you can get a SkyTrak that's better. I really don't, especially for indoor golf simulation. But it's not a quad. There, you might get a couple of misreads per round if you're playing GS Pro. You have to live with that. Is it worth it to spend another $5,000 or something, or be tied into a huge subscription with a Bushnell Launch Pro or something in order to get that one or two less misreads around?
That's up to you to determine, I suppose. But for me, this test really showed me that the SkyTrak is a good launch monitor. I sort of, when I was doing my initial research, I more or less poo-pooed the SkyTrak as a unit that is unreliable and inconsistent and, in the same tier as some of the other very inexpensive home launch monitors, like a Garmin R10, like a MLM2 Pro, like the new Voice Caddy SC4 or whatever. I think the SkyTrak deserves to be thought of better than that. And maybe all those units deserve to be thought of better, honestly. Just because you're not a $15,000 unit level of accuracy doesn't mean that you can't still be accurate. And my time with the R10 really made me feel good about the data that I got out of that. And I think similar with the SkyTrak. I do think for indoor purposes, the SkyTrak is better, more accurate than the Garmin R10. It's certainly not as accurate as the GCQuad, but for all sort of the faults that we just talked about, it's really good. It's really good. This was an awesome test. Super interested in this one. The only other quad versus SkyTrak test that I've seen is on TXG's YouTube channel from a couple years ago. I'll put a link to that TXG video up here in this one so you can check it out. TXG's conclusions were pretty similar to mine here. They thought the SkyTrak was good. They thought that it didn't do great when the ball speeds got super high. That's not a problem that I have, but if you're a 170, 180 ball speed kind of guy, I would advise watching that TXG video to figure out whether you think the SkyTrak will work for you or not. But for us mere mortals who are, 140, 150, 160 ball speed, I think the SkyTrak is a really good unit. And I would advise anyone who's interested and who has that in the budget to take a strong look at it. Okay, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I really appreciate the support. Give me a like if you like the video. Subscribe if you want. Again, I've got that goal of 500 subs this year. It'd be great if you were another one of them. We're releasing videos, every couple weeks, every 3 weeks. Another one of my goals this year is 20 videos in 2024. So we're on the train towards 20 videos, and we got a lot of other good stuff coming up. There is some more launch monitor comparison stuff coming. I did just purchase myself Foresight GC2, which have also been coming down in price recently. That's another unit that I poo-pooed for one reason or another, but anyway, video coming up in a couple weeks here. I might have some different thoughts on it than I did before I owned one. So, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Leave me some comments if you have questions. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. And it's 68 degrees here in Minnesota on March 11th, so we're going to be out on the real golf course soon. All right, guys, thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.